It's break time. Welcome to our newest episode. It's your co-host, Rissy Ray,
Hey, hey.
and yours truly, Kaninja. We have a very special guest here again in our break room to join us in today's topic. He is a medical assistant at urgent care that plays a major part in COVID testing and in the vaccine distribution where we live. We are very interested in the part that you play in these unprecedented times. Sadorox, would you like to reintroduce yourself?
Yep. Hey guys, I'm Sadorox, and once again, I'm a medical assistant working at an urgent care that is relevant to COVID, and also we are, we're also basically contracted with the health department in the state to essentially give off vaccines to right now at this current time patients that are 65 and above.
Oh, okay. 65 and above?
Good to know. So I know it's been a while, Sadoraj, since we last talked. And at that time, I believe it was last year. So COVID, let's talk about that at least right now, kind of a little bit of an update and kind of where we are now. I kind of think that we're kind of in the same spot as we were before. What do you guys think?
Yes.
I guess that depends on what you mean.
Well, I was thinking like more or less still kind of quarantining, still face masks, still fear, all of the above.
Well, for fear, yeah, people, there's definitely still fear for this thing. I actually come to think of it earlier today from work. I did actually experience a patient who was actually very frightened of the fact that her daughter had it and she didn't have it, at least not yet. But she had tested her child, and her child, of course, tested positive. Now, the sad thing was she had did a rapid antigen test. And what caught me was when the positive result was basically visible in like under a minute.
Wow.
It was popping quickly. I was like, holy, that thing is like, if it pops that quickly, that usually indicates an accurate antigen test.
Oh, okay. And Sadorix, if you don't mind, just for me included, if you can explain the rapid antigen test.
Yeah. So with that test, we have to first come to the conclusion that we don't really have a very accurate, efficient, rapid COVID test. We can, however, go through a series of processes to get quick results, to give you, quick and accurate results. So the antigen test, however, is basically our cheapest way to finding out if possibly you have COVID in about 10 to 15 minutes or so. But with that test, we're specifically looking for antigens. Simply put, antigens, just think about it. Think about them as like clothing or like a jacket. And usually antigens are present whenever your body is giving off severe symptoms, whatever virus is causing those symptoms. And if we're, since we're talking about COVID right now, let's just say hypothetically you're having fevers or lost taste and smell. Those are considered one of the major symptoms for COVID. So a lot of times, if I see patients who have either just a fever or just a new lost taste and smell symptom, I immediately initiate that test. There is no questions asked about it because that's just, again, that's just a severe symptom. Fever is a pretty severe symptom just as a whole. And the fact that people are losing their scent, whether it's to smell or to taste, I think that's pretty severe too, because that can get into dangerous situations later down the road. If like people are eating things that are really bad and they can't tell that it's bad because it doesn't taste like anything to them. But aside from that though, so whenever we're looking for antigens, again, just looking for that clothing. But if that virus isn't wearing that clothing, that test is just going to detect as negative. So unfortunately, if that test shows negative, people have to understand, don't take that result 100% until those PCR tests come back. Only because number one is the most accurate, and number two, because you missed your chance of finding antigens, there's no telling if you don't have COVID yet. You know what I mean? Like Antigens is basically our way of finding COVID the fastest. But if those COVID viruses are still in that test, it's not going to detect the virus because, again, the virus isn't wearing the antigens. We're just looking for those antigens.
Right. And I guess also if you don't have the right criteria at the right timing, even if you have COVID, but if you don't get that tested at the right timing or the right criteria, you could still test negative on the antigen test, right?
Yes, precisely. And actually, come to think of it, I think it's pronounced Abbott or Abbott or something like that. Their brand antigens basically state that you need to at least have 3 to 7 days of these specific symptoms. If you're having it probably too early on, or maybe if you've been having it for some awful reason, you're having it for longer than a week, for some reason the test won't pick it up right. There's an indication to be about 20% accuracy if those symptoms, or if you're essentially testing outside of those requirements. So you want to make sure if you're having severe symptoms, make sure you're having it within 3 to 7 days.
Okay. And thank you so much, Sadorox, for explaining that testing. I know that previously on our previous episode, when you guessed as well, you did explain that honestly, the timing is really important because you can be exposed, but because of the current testing that we have, you can still turn out to be negative when you initially, until I guess it festers or your body starts to really combat it. So to answer your question, Kaninja, I feel like we kind of are in the same boat because again, when we first spoke about this, there's really no real 20-minute test, where you can know if you have COVID or not.
Right. And I guess, I don't know. So, Rox, are you seeing less people trying to get tested, or are you seeing more people trying to get tested since last year?
Well, from what I'm experiencing right now at this current time, I'm noticing cases are starting to drop, which is pretty good. Though our clinic is usually open from 9 to 4 for COVID testing. So we don't really see as many patients compared to a 12-hour shift per se.
Okay. like a whole weekend type deal and after hours, or is there after hours testing? Is that available?
No, as much as a lot of people would love that to happen, it hasn't been allowed. I think mainly because of I think people just don't feel comfortable working out at night.
We understand. Do we understand, Kaninja? Do we understand that part?
I can kind of see it. I mean, I'm a patient, so I need to get tested. No, I'm just kidding. I understand.
So I mean, how do you feel, Kaninja? I mean, because I know Case, from the clarification from our previous episode in speaking about COVID, cases just mean people tested, not necessarily the positive. So how do you feel, Kaninja, with all this new information, all this good stuff? Where do you see us now? Do you feel like we getting better?
So, I mean, I think how we are all treating it, no. I think people are tired of hearing about it. I think people just want to get back to their normal lives. So they're trying to do that. Now, does that make COVID go away? No. And kind of a plug into our second part with a new vaccine, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. We'll talk a little bit more about that as well. So, but COVID hasn't gone away, and we're starting to see more side effects of COVID when it comes to internally. So if you had COVID, there's a possibility that it has wreaked havoc on your insides, basically, and could have, and it could have amplified something that you already had, something like wrong with you, like a pre-issue or a pre-condition or whatever, pre-existing condition. And if you had something that you didn't even know you had, and COVID could amplify that. And we've seen, well, I don't know if it was from COVID, but definitely I've seen that happen to someone that I know, and they had a pre-existing condition, they had COVID, and then maybe a few months later, even something else was amplified, and it is a huge issue. Of course, they're fine, but it was a huge issue that maybe if it wasn't for COVID, this issue would not have been an issue, if you know what I mean.
Oh, okay. I see what you're
So
saying.
yeah, so I mean, as far as how people are handling it, I don't think it's gotten any better, because I think that people are still treating it as a nuisance more than something that they should be aware of. But of course, Sadorox, like you mentioned, with the fear, I mean, it is something to be fearful of, but I mean, by now we should all know how to handle COVID, you
Right.
know,
Mhm.
but we should also know how to avoid, like, mitigate it as well, but people aren't doing that either. So that's kind of what I'm thinking of. So all in all, long story short, I don't think we've gotten any better as far as how we're handling it. Now, as far as with the cases or anything like that, like definitely, Xerox, I know you were mentioning that it has gone down a little bit, and but I'm wondering with the cases going, I heard the cases were going really like skyrocketing because of the holidays.
Mhm.
What are the reasons why do you guys think that the cases were skyrocketing, but now they're starting to decrease?
I mean, to me personally, I feel like a lot of people had like cabin fever and was like, you know what, I'm gonna see my grandma, my grandpa, my loved ones, my auntie, uncle, sisters, and I'm gonna go.
Right.
But since I'm gonna go, even though, you know, whatever state governor may have a different opinion, right? Or just in general, other family members, you're like, you know what, but I'm gonna be safe though. So I'm
Mhm.
gonna go, but I'm gonna make sure I'm good before I go. And I
Right.
think that was the mindset, because I'm gonna raise my little hand up. I did travel a little bit, okay, and
Shame, Rissy, shame.
because I got cabin fever, I was like, I want to go out, I want to be out, and and so I think that's where everyone kind of, you know, like that was where everything. It's Christmas, you know, and I'm sorry, shipping is cool, right? Shipping is
Mhm.
great, but when you side note, I used to work for Amazon for like 3 years, working from home, and when it's out of our control because I was in the call center, at home, of course. But when it goes from a big huge jump, like you supposed to get this package December 22nd, and it scans to tell you the 28th of December, it is catastrophic, right?
Yep.
Like, so I can see where people like who can anyway, it's like, hey, I'd rather just drop it off to you. I'd rather meet up with you versus sending it through whatever carrier, you know, all major carriers to go and do it. So I know that there was a lot more of impersonness of it all, just adding to Christmas, you know, I mean, the holidays, of course. And I think that's what contributed to, well, okay, it's done now. So unless it's like someone's birthday, there's no graduations. I mean, there may be in January, you know, with everything COVID and, you know, a change of schedule. But right now, there's not as much activity going on.
Until Valentine's.
Well, okay, so I feel like with Valentine's, like if you're gonna do it, you're already within that same household, possibly. But no, but you might have a loved one, like you know, like a loved one you want to give to. Yeah, yeah, basically, yeah.
Right. Go to
Any
a restaurant.
holiday that includes togetherness, yes.
Right. So Rox, what do you think
I mean, what specific?
as to why do you think that the cases are kind of going down a little bit versus it skyrocketing over the holidays?
The thing is that it's only gone down just this week. So I don't want to really put all of my opinion on that just yet, because I was talking with my group about it, and we think it's going to definitely go back up again, at least probably in Valentine's Day. Of course, there's going to be a lot of people who's going to want to spend time with each other, and at one point, you know, Valentine's Day, there's going to be a lot of Scorpios at some point that's going to be born. But
Mhm.
you know, but aside from that, though, of course, no one's going to be wearing masks during certain intimacies. So don't be surprised if cases go up because of that. Also, the other holidays to follow, and the fact that these vaccines, at least in my opinion, don't really They don't really seem to be as effective as a typical vaccine would be. And that's only just because it's a newer vaccine. We don't really have 100% like complete research to really, But aside from that, though, I think cases are only just dropping now because we already hit most of the main holidays. So there's not really nothing going on at this point. But cases, I'm pretty sure they're going to go back up at some point.
Gotcha. And just a little side note, what Sadorox was mentioning with Valentine's Day, that we do have a little bit of a plug-in for our previous episode on our podcast in our break room of dating during COVID. So if you guys are all interested on how to do that and all the different ways, Rissy's got the scoop on that one. So back
the
to where
Rona.
with the Rona. So, but yeah, no, definitely it's drugs. That makes sense. And I'm sure at this point, since everyone is sick and tired of hearing about COVID and having to stay inside, I think everyone's going to be picking and choosing, but more or less picking any sort of holiday to celebrate just to get out.
Yeah.
So April Fool's Day, let's go to a bar.
Right.
March, St. Patrick's Day, let's go to a bar.
No, I definitely see that, and I also like just speaking with other people. It's like at first, with everything, like the information continues to change, right? And so at first, obviously, which everything's incorrect now because we have more information data. But at first, initially, the information was it was a virus that was only affecting older group of people, right? That was first. So we're thinking, we're moving as normal because of that. That's our information. And then it went to people with pre-existing conditions, regardless of age. So we're like, okay, well, I have asthma. I have, like things like that where you're like, okay, let me go be mindful. And then when they broke it, I don't know which month it was, Kaninja's going to know which month it was, when they broke out and said, hey, you can have COVID and have no symptoms. I think that's when it was just like, oh, okay. So it's like kind of like, you just don't know. So it's like, D if you do, D if you don't. Because I think one of the informations that I heard was how with COVID, the virus being on surfaces, like your package, right? Because think about it, everything you used to do is now freaking dirty. Okay, just to put it out there. Everything you used to do was dirty. Like going to bed with your phone is dirty. Okay.
Your phone is the most grossest thing you can ever imagine.
And see, that's the crazy part. We always knew that it was always there because like my mom was very she makes sure that to keep things cleansed, right? And so she was like, wipe down your phone. I'm like, why? Like because whatever reason I feel like if I focus to one surface another, it like counters the previous. Ew, it's dirty, right? So like certain things that you used to do is dirty, like your package, right? Or your groceries. One of the suggestions, with all the changing of information while COVID is going, is to wipe down your groceries.
Yeah. Or to leave your package outside for like a day or something along those lines.
Right. And I'm just like, I remember just taking my package and putting it on my bed one time. You know what I mean? Like, just because it's just, now you're just like, oh my goodness, I was so uncultured and disgusting.
I was a nasty human.
It's like one of the information, like you said, like a day, how it was saying that an Amazon package can keep and I love Amazon. Okay. So any package that you receive, right, that it could be on there for days. The virus could be there for days. And I'm just like, it went from that to talking about the groceries to talking about how, let's say you cough, right? And you happen to, cough and you have the virus. That first it was like, oh, it'll stay up there for like 30 minutes. Then it went to hours.
Then that's why everyone's got to stay 6 feet. And then, on our previously when Sadorox you were on, we were talking about how it could be on our food. The food form.
Right. And it just makes you think like, it kind of it adds to it makes you feel very like, so what am I supposed to do?
Right, exactly.
Now,
Because like,
granted,
oh, go ahead.
there's no like full studies to really prove that, but I'm almost pretty sure if we're going to consider it a lot like the flu. I remember getting the flu from someone who almost pretty sure didn't wash their hands when they decided to grab the food and put it on the plate. And you know how it is when you're in the family house. You're not trying to be disrespectful or anything like that. So yeah, I kind of regretted that.
Exactly. Actually, I do have a question, Sadorox.
Uh-oh.
So, as a medical assistant from the beginning of COVID versus now, do you do anything different now versus, of course, in the beginning when it comes to like packages or groceries or just in your daily life?
I don't do anything too different except just washing my hands thoroughly, really. It this pandemic, all it really taught me was just to make sure my hands are clean at all times, really.
Okay. So really, it's like for Rissy and I, we're just like, we're nasty humans. You're like, just wash your hands.
Yeah, I mean, washing your hands is very important because you have to understand people really do touch their hands a lot, and that's another means of
Mhm.
transmission. You can breathe into someone's face all you want and get someone sick that way, but you could be really distant from someone and not get anything. So I mean, I'll be honest with you, as a medical assistant, yeah, I do understand that masks are really effective, but then the people who are anti-maskers, in one way, they do have a point about being very distant. If you're very distant, mass doesn't necessarily matter. Now, however, how severe you may be contagious could remain to be seen, obviously. So that's why it's just best to keep the mask on, have the maximum protection. There's no problems, no freaking problems.
Gotcha.
But yeah, I forgot what we're talking about.
Yes, you do. Yes, you do. Sadorox, the medical assistant at urgent care. You know exactly what we're doing. You play a critical role in in a lot of stuff right now, COVID related.
It's just as a matter of fact, it's. I'm glad you said that, Rissy, right? Because I just recently been coming from the Bojangles Stadium, and they've been doing vaccinations over there, and that's been it hasn't been severely busy, but I have been running around left and right. So it
Oh, no
was
worries.
between having to vaccinate, I can't remember how many people, but I vaccinated a decent amount of patients to having to just watch over patients just to make sure they're not passing out from recovery. We can always get to that later. To passing their papers along to other people. I was just doing a bunch of stuff. So
And
I'm
that's
really
why
grateful.
you guys are heroes. And that's why you are heroes.
I appreciate that.
And that's why it's a pass. What just happened?
No worries. I will tell you this though. This is still related to everything. It's a lot of contradictions, just a lot of just different stuff. Like I said, you figure out how dirty your phone is, and
Yeah, phones are dirty.
yeah, your package, how dirty, and then you think about the grocery, how you may have picked up a milk and decided you didn't want it anymore, but then another individual could have sneezed and been nasty.
Yeah.
Like now you're really thinking that. You know what really is my rant of the day though? I literally saw a Lysol commercial and a Clorox commercial, guys. Where is it?
Yeah.
It's
so hard to find those.
Yeah, and they put it in your face in the commercial. They said it can destroy the COVID-19 virus. And I'm like, so Pine Sol as well. But I'm like, okay, but where you at?
What is it, like Pixar didn't happen? Just like
dude, I was just like, but where you at? Like, okay, thank you, commercial, reminding me of that Lysol has these things on certain surfaces, but where are you at?
Right. It doesn't help if I can't buy you.
Buy you. This cruel world. I can't buy you. So, what do you feel, Kaninja, just with everything considered, from the beginning, we're getting information new all the time.
Yeah, it's so I've had to turn off the news. I'm gonna tell you straight up. Like in the beginning, the news was on. I was trying to stay in the new or in the know, everything, and being like, this is what's happening, this is happening. And now I'm just like, you know what? I can't keep on living in fear, but I'm going to be safe.
Mm-hmm.
So I am going to reduce the amount of hours I'm out of the house.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to stop living my life. So if I got to go grocery shopping or if I want to have lunch with a friend, I'm going to do that, but I'm going to be safe by doing it. I'm going to bring hand sanitizer. I'm going to wear my mask. I'm going to wash my hands. I'm not going to go out there and be like, no one can tell me COVID can't get me, and then go out there without a mask or anything and still touch my face.
Right.
I think you can live your life, but also be safe. And so for me, in the beginning, I was a little paranoid, and for a long time, like I was helping out some of my family members with groceries because they didn't want to go out because they had younger kids. So I was helping them, and so I would get the groceries, but I would leave it on their doorstep and then they would Lysol the groceries.
Look at you being the sacrifice.
and at the time, that's exactly how I saw it. I was just like, it's okay. I have nothing to lose. I don't have any kids. I don't have any, I'm fine if I get it. It's okay if I die.
Because you didn't fit any of those initial categories, right? So of course you're like, I'm young, I'm hip, I can go. Yeah, right.
Exactly. Although I do have asthma, but I was just like, I got this. But yeah, I mean, now I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna be safe. So like Sadorox, you were right about like just wash your hands, just take the precautions. But Rissy, before our break, how are you? How did you handle it between then and now?
I mean, I handle it like just any normal American. We spazzed, okay. First. God, goodness gracious. But I was like, okay, and I was like, okay, so what again with you, I was like, I was volunteering as tribute. And
I will die for you all.
Right. Because at first I was definitely utilizing online grocery ordering, but then I eat a lot of fruits and vegetables, and I make like bread sandwiches or whatever, like peanut butter jelly or whatever. And my issue was they picked the bad groups. It didn't matter which grocery delivery service I was using, right?
Mm-hmm.
It was like, if I had strawberries, it would go bad by day 4. Oh, that's not how strawberries work, okay?
Not the processed kind.
Right, like it was just, my fruits and vegetables were just not working out for me. And what happened? And then the bread, you get a full loaf of bread. Guess where it has the best buy date?
What?
Today.
Wow.
Like, what am I supposed to do? Like, that's not, and so I had to just be like, you know what? I'm just gonna just do it and just make sure, I have my mask on. I'm washing, my cloth mask as I speak. I'm layering up. So again, it just be safe, because I was really being very like hermit. And then I was like, I gotta go somewhere. I gotta go.
Right.
And, I did go. I did do some traveling, not in November, but more in like September, October. Type deal, and I made sure I kept my hand sanitizer. I try to stick with that, 75% and above. Wink, wink. And that's how I was doing it. So at first, I think I was initially like, "Oh my gosh, what are we gonna do?" And especially with the children, it's like a whole nother. It's like a multi-syndrome. Like I don't know what the word is. I heard it on the news, and eventually I started to take the news off.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm just going to have my hand sanitizer every so often. I've taken my little one to the mall, again, being safe and she understands the playground is closed. Okay. So it's not like we're the weird ones where we're breaking, like, girl, just ride one more ride. No, it's closed. Yeah, it's closed.
The playground is broken.
The playground, yes. Just because, again, my little one, for example, life doesn't stop. And, everyone handles things differently. Okay, because some people with the whole, your life don't stop, and they take it to the extreme, where they want to be very combative and argumentative about it, and you don't have to do that if you are going to, quote, live your life. So with her, because she is growing, I have to take her to make sure that I'm getting the right size for her for certain things. Have her go out to help practice some of her social skills, for example, speaking, walking, like it's just little stuff like that for her to be aware of, like knowing how to use the elevator correctly, safely, because she may have to go and she might, kids are kids. So I learned to live with it and cope with everyone. So I mean, it's good now.
Yeah, exactly. Well, awesome. We are about to go on our break, and we'll be back. Hey, break room buddies. If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain. It's free. There's creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you, so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many more. You can make money from your podcast with no minimum amount of listeners. And really, who doesn't like money? It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. We used it and were able to put out our first podcast within a week. Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. And we're back. So real quick, I did want to mention, just completely as a side note before we really jump into these vaccines.
Yeah, sure, go for it.
So I have gotten this posture thing. So it wraps around your shoulders and you can tighten it to kind of help your posture. It kills your armpits. Like, it hurts. And so I'm wearing it during this podcast. And so I'm kind of moving around a little bit. So if you hear me strain a little bit on my talking, it's because I'm trying to fix my posture.
I got you. So, Kaninja, what you do on break?
I got this posture thing.
That's what you did.
Working in the office, you kind of tend to have a really bad posture. And so
yeah.
What'd you do during the break, Rissy?
Well, I've been going extremely hard at the gym.
Oh, nice.
And I paid for membership, and I usually go in the morning. So I did too many days straight.
Oh.
And now I'm sore.
You do some stretching then?
Forget stretching, okay? We're going hard when we go to the gym, okay?
So no. No stretching.
I'm doing only lower peak. Remember, my New Year's resolution was learning how to do a split.
Right. Okay.
And prepping my body to. So we're getting closer where sorry guys, I'm terrible at describing this. But long story short, you know how you slide your legs and you can do like a little tent? Your legs kind of form a tent and your hands are right there in the center. I can do that now. I could not have done that a couple weeks ago.
Nice. So progress. And it's still like early in the year.
Right. So we're just trying to do this. So I'm a little bit sore, but we going to the gym tomorrow and we're
make sure you stretch.
We'll stretch.
Awesome. Sadorox, what did you do during the break?
Not a damn thing.
You took a break.
That's right. I tried to do very little as possible to try to recuperate from everything I've been going through.
Well, that's a great segue. So, Sadorox, this past week, you have been doing vaccine administration. Is that correct? Or
yeah, definitely been administering vaccines, or to put it simply, I've just been giving people shots of vaccines.
Okay. So are there a lot of people and you said the phase right now is people 65 and older?
Yeah, I'm not sure of the technical phase we're in. It's probably like 1A, 1B. We were in before. I'm not sure if there's something else going on. I just know that they just went from, it was originally 75 and up. And aside from people who are 75 and up, if you were in a healthcare worker or just working like front lines and things like that, you of course were granted to have the first and second dose. Now, the vaccinations that we were doing, however, my clinic was contracted with the health department, so we weren't really doing, the first dose of the vaccines. We're only doing the second dose. So basically, we were only seeing people who were coming back to get the second dose to complete their full vaccination for COVID. Uh, I did, however, assist the health department with the patients who were seeing their nurse for their first dose, and after they would get their first dose of the vaccine, they would usually get stationed to a recovery lounge where they could just sit around for about 15 minutes just in case they're not experiencing any adverse reactions. During that time, we usually offer any services, see if they want to schedule their second dose appointment. And usually we try to schedule at least 3 weeks out within the same day that they got tested. So basically, if you got tested today, 3 weeks from now, you would still get tested on that Sunday. Basically, we do that because in order to get the vaccine the most efficient way and to also avoid any possible issues, you want to be able to take it within a 3-week period. So that's essentially at least 21 days. Now, the health department, they did say it's okay to do as little as 17 days, but you cannot do it any less than 17 days. And if you try to go over the 21 days, you may be pushing the efficiency of the vaccine.
Oh, so explain it. Can you explain this? Why do we need to get a second dose?
So you have to think about it this way. So this vaccine isn't like your typical vaccines. Both the Pfizer and the Moderna, these are two variant mRNA vaccines. mRNA vaccines are basically a new addition to the vaccines, basically a new method to trying to trick the body into thinking something's going on. They try to create the antibodies, and those antibodies will essentially try to protect you from any possible exposures in the future. So I remember we were talking about antibodies in our last podcast about COVID, how I explained how antibodies are essentially protein molecules that essentially protect you from any possible future exposures, assuming that your body has enough of the antibodies and is strong enough to actually fight it off. So the vaccine, the mRNA vaccine, essentially, think about it like this: whenever the shot is injected into you, you're injecting this mRNA, which is essentially a code to a virus. So you know how you have DNA and RNA, right? So you have this code that the body is detecting. It detects that code, and that when it sees that code, it's thinking that it's COVID. So the body will then start to create immune responses, and then eventually those antibodies will start to produce, usually within the typical 1 to 2 week mark.
How is that different than the flu vaccine?
Flu vaccines?
Yeah, so doesn't the flu vaccine kind of trigger the antibodies to do it too?
Well, see, the thing is that the flu vaccine also carries some kind of virus in it. So that virus as a whole kind of works a little bit differently because of how much more efficient those vaccines are, and besides the fact that you only need one of those shots compared to these 2 shots within a 2-month span.
So do you need to get a 3rd shot and a 4th shot, or is it just 2 shots and you're good for the rest of the year, or how does that work?
So think about it like this: if you want to be protected for a whole year, you're probably looking at least six shots, but you want to do 2 shots in a span.
So basically, this shot is only triggering your antibodies, like you said, to actually recognize that something's going on. So it's only increasing your immune system, like it's ready for something. And then when nothing comes, the antibodies are going to basically decrease. So then you give another shot, so the antibodies increase again, and you got to keep doing that to keep it increased or increase your immune system so it's ready to fight off COVID before COVID gets you.
More or less. Now, see, the thing is that so with these 2 doses, the first dose doesn't give you enough antibodies. You usually need a second dose, but you have to wait for that first dose to kind of really seep in there for at least those 3 weeks. You get that second dose, you get the rest of what you need. It helps the body to develop enough of the antibodies to last you for 2 months. Now, the only reason why it works that way is because I think I mentioned this before too. Whenever your body is experiencing a virus and you're having severe symptoms, let's say if you're having symptoms to a point where you're on your bed, like it's putting you on your butt to where you can't get out of bed, and you've been on there for at least a week and a half tops, before you start hitting your 2 weeks where you're starting to really recover and you're starting to feel a lot better. Those antibodies, when they start to eventually produce in your body, those antibodies is going to most likely last you for like 5, 6, maybe even 7 months. Now, if a
Hmm.
person who only had like minor symptoms and they only had like a symptom for like a day, and then they started feeling okay for like the rest, and they were just shedding and all this other stuff, by the time they start developing antibodies, this probably going to only last them for like a 1 to 2 months. So basically, what I'm saying is, whenever you're getting this vaccine is basically mimicking a contraction of the virus. So when you're getting this virus, it will trigger the immune responses. You get the antibodies. So depending on how your body's going to react to this vaccine will determine how efficient it's going to work later down the road. You want to have immune responses. People are afraid right now when they get that second dose, it's supposed to be more severe than the first. People hear that and they thinking, oh crap, I don't want to take it because I don't want to feel like I'm dying. If you get the second dose and you're starting to get those fevers, you're really feeling sick or something like that, you want that, because
The
now that Mhm.
Sorry. So the immune response, that's like a side effect of the vaccine?
The immune response is a response from your body. You want to immune response is basically something that whenever your body is somehow compromised in some way from a virus, and whenever it's making its whole, sometimes the body has to react in some way to even know that something's going on. So whenever it sees and detects it in some way, whenever it tries to find some way of means of attacking it in some way, you'll get those immune responses. Immune responses you can get anywhere between like, I mean, you usually get like symptoms of some kind. Those symptoms are usually because you're getting an immune response because it's trying to fight off a virus. So basically, whenever you're feeling that way, it, think of it as, oh gosh, I'm getting an immune response from something.
Okay. So basically, after you get the vaccine, you could develop like a headache or soreness of muscles or like lethargic or something along those lines. But really, that's not a side effect of the vaccine. It's a side effect that the vaccine is working because it's increasing your antibodies and creating that immune response.
Exactly, pretty much.
Gotcha. So that's really interesting. So the second one is supposed to be worse than the first one. Why do you think that is? Is it because it's making your body increase more antibodies?
I think it's also because you're getting a second dose. It's kind of like, oh gosh, he's getting a second exposure. So the body is probably kind of still trying to recover from the first, but then it's getting hit again, and it's like, oh gosh, I'm really getting hit hard. I'm not done recovering yet. So it's just, you're basically just surprising the body with another attack before it's like really starting to like get things all together. But once that body starts to really fight everything off, that's when you start to really build up all those antibodies, which is pretty good. So basically, what I'm trying to say is, if you get little to no symptoms from 1 or 2 of these doses for those 2 or so months as you're supposed to, be okay or whatnot, if you're not getting anything at all, you're basically not getting any benefit from that vaccine. So that should actually be concerning. But the good thing is that our events that we're doing with these vaccinations, we offer these papers and pallets and stuff like that. If anything were to happen, whether you're feeling really, really, really bad, or if you just want to share your experience, or if you're not feeling, whatever it may be, you can actually send it to this website. And you can actually put all of your experiences on there. And this is just so I can help with more studies for the mRNA vaccine. Because the cool thing is that since this is a new vaccine, this could be it is a breakthrough for the future of vaccines, because this is like a new way to kind of like, I guess, find another efficient way of having to fight some things that we may not really understand later down the road. It's basically like, think of it as like this: mRNA vaccines could be like a new thing that you could see whenever we find out newer viruses, and until we start learning more and more and more, we'll get the more better, efficient more efficient vaccines, like how you see like the flus and like HPV vaccines. And
So this is like a workaround.
pretty much, yeah. I'm pretty sure it's a workaround, because think of it this way: why do you think I mean, I can't even say that, because if I ask that, people gonna be like, oh, conspiracy. But the reason for why this vaccine came out as quick as it did is because we have to think about it like this. We have a pandemic. If we were to try to create a vaccine, there's no way in hell we're going to be able to restore our community as fast as 10 years. 10 years is not going to be fast enough. It's just we need something to be restored a lot faster. All these businesses that's already closed down as a result of COVID, like there's no way other places can survive in the span of 10 years. So we had to try to figure out another method that could try to try to fight this off. So what we would do is try to go very deep to the source. So we try to find a specific code to that virus and try to play. We're basically kind of playing with nature, which is the only dangerous thing in my opinion. But no one asked for that, of course. So, talking about the coding of that virus, we can utilize that and kind of see if there's a way we could try to understand a little bit and not really harm the body too much, as long as the person that's getting the vaccine is not allergic to those ingredients.
Gotcha. Now that makes sense. Rissy, do you have anything you want to add to that, or any response to that? Or
I am part of with the conspiracy theorists, okay? So I'm not gonna rant.
No, it's fair. It's fair if you are. I understand other people's perspectives, and quite frankly, I do get edgy whenever something that should not be rushed. If you're trying to perfect something in such a way to make sure everyone's safe, regardless of where you are, regardless of your culture, regardless of your condition, whatever it may be, you should be able to all have the same substance and not be harmed from it and still be healed. So they can get concerning whenever something is rushed and things happen. This is off the subject a little bit, but when we're talking like video games, for instance, if you rush a video game, what's going to happen? It's going to get glitches. It's going to have all these bugs, and then people are going to get upset, and then it's just going to be bad business for just that company, kind of thing. But anyway,
no, but that's kind of where I am with it. It was too quick. It took forever for our people who make decisions to say anything, right? It took them forever to say, oh, okay, so let's go implement this and implement that. It just took forever to just have a vaccine come out of nowhere, like bam. And with the side effects, I'm not gonna lie, there's side effects with almost just about every medication. So that the side effects and the type of side effects, not so much, because if you really take the time to listen, right, you'll be hearing stuff like this is some random medication. They're talking about dysfunction. You're like, hold up. This was something else. This was for my eczema.
Yeah, premature death.
Right. And then if there's swelling occurring and the other things that they put in when everybody's happy, running around playing, everyone's smiling and stuff, and they're just and death, by the way. So there's I'm aware there's side effects, so there's side effects in all other medications out there. So that's not my issue. It's just it's they're pushing it. It's like your friend who bakes, okay? Who says she bakes anyway. Okay, all right, but let me just see how everyone else taste your stuff first, and then I'll do it.
So you're gonna wait until see if anyone has turned into a zombie, and then you'll do it.
So yes, Breaker Buddies, I feel like this is a step to population control. But that is part of Rissy Rants, and that's not for today.
Conspiracy.
But I definitely feel I'm not 100%, especially since it's one of those where you're pushing it and it doesn't work, right? Like we don't know if it does. And Sadorox did mention that there is communication channels where if you are experiencing symptoms, submit it. So that goes to more of the research, because all this is new. You can't base anything on new. It's just everything's new. So that I do appreciate for all the people out there, Breaking Buddies, who have decided to. I think it's appointments now, right? Right? Is it appointment? You can't just come up and get it, or is it an appointment?
It's appointment for now. You would have to. For first dosing, you would have to schedule through the health department, and of course, through the second dosing, we have to register through the My Clinic.
Oh, okay, thank you. So yeah, so for everyone who has made their appointments and they feel like, yes, I need to do this, go right ahead. Kaninja, where you at? We are so supportive of you. Yes.
Do what makes you feel safe. And
Exactly.
this, you know, I would like to, myself, Kaninja, would like to in the medical community as well. I see this as more of a workaround and not a fail safe. So just because you have this vaccine does not mean, and Sadorox, please fact check me on this, does not mean you can go out there and not wear a mask and, not wash your hands and be like, I'm invincible. Right?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't really, pretty much. I mean, it's like, you have to understand too. It's like, yeah, you may, let's just say hypothetically the vaccine is working, you're perfectly fine. No one's gonna really know that 100% that you're even vaccinated anyway. I mean, yeah, we give record cards and stuff like that, but I mean, how often do people really carry that stuff around?
Gotcha.
So
Jesus.
basically, yeah, I still think it'd still be good to still wear a mask regardless if you're getting vaccinated or not, just for the simple fact that you're not going to even always have proof that you even did get vaccinated.
Okay, so it's just it's a piece. So like how everything's working together, like we're social distancing, we're wearing clean masks, we're using the same old cloth mask, okay, not washing it. We're using our mask, okay. We're using high quality hand sanitizer. We're washing thoroughly.
I feel like Rissy's telling me this.
Yeah.
It's all pieces. You can't do, not saying you can't. Yes, I am going to say it. It all is a working part. And for it to be effective, it all needs to work.
Exactly.
It all needs to be implemented. So I feel like, again, if you feel safe to take it, that's fine. I can wait and see if it comes in a chewable vitamin. Okay, that's what I'm really waiting for.
It's the shots. At the end of the day, it's the shots for Rissy.
Yeah, so whenever they say, hey, we got it in a chewable, I don't even care. I want to be right there. Right there.
I think that'd be another breakthrough if they can find a vaccine in a chewable, right, Sadorox?
Thank you.
So, Sadorox, I had another question. So, the one in North Carolina, that is the Pfizer vaccine. Is that correct?
There's actually two vaccines. There's a Pfizer vaccine and then the Moderna vaccine.
So, what is the difference, and how is it stable? Is it not stable? I heard one needs to be super, super cold. I heard like another can only last like a certain amount of hours. Can you dive into that a little bit?
I'll be honest with you, I'm not too familiar with the Moderna because the one that I was messing with was the Pfizer. And what I understand with Pfizer BioNTech COVID-19 vaccines is that we actually have to dilute the vaccine with saline. At least that's what I remember what the diluent is. So we're taking basically, I won't really give the specific demographics, but I will essentially extract the saline from the bottle, inject it into the vaccine bottle, and then we're supposed to pull back and forth, or like, pull in and out for I think like two or three times, something like that. And we're supposed to play with the bottle or things like that. But anyway, after all that's been formulated, you're supposed to keep it cool and away from UV rays for 6 hours. The reason why I specifically mention UV rays is because it's actually proven to be very sensitive to sunlight, as interesting as that is. So whenever we're vaccinating, we have to make sure that the sun at any cost is not exposing to the vaccine. So we tried to find any means to try to keep it covered. We did have a system where we would keep it in a black drawer, and the black drawer usually had some kind of interesting cooling system to kind of keep it cool. Like I said, once it's formulated, about 6 hours, those vaccines are good. After 6 hours, those vaccines have not been used, regardless if it's been, in the cool or whatnot, they have to be tossed out.
Oh.
So
Yep.
how many do you think in this past week have you had to toss out because you hadn't
Well,
used?
it's actually funny you asked that because earlier in the week when I was doing this vaccination, the first week there was going to be like 10 or 12 vaccines going to be tossed away. I ended up volunteering to take the vaccine just for the sake of not tossing it because number one, we were already getting a short supply of the vaccines to begin with, and two, they were just being tossed away if they weren't being used. So I was like, you know what, fuck it. If I end up like taking the vaccine and if I end up dying, then so be it. But with all the other people that I was working with, all the nurse practitioners, the doctors, all the ones who've taken the shots, I was like, you know what, whatever. I'll just go ahead and take it just to see what's up. At the very least, I can share my experience with other people, just to kind of at least give them some more insight. Not necessarily to convince them, but more just to have information on the back of their head. But yeah, so
Yeah, hold on. You took the vaccine.
yes, I did.
Okay, when did you were going to tell us this?
I actually didn't even think about it, to be completely honest with you.
Oh, you've been so tired being our heroes. I understand.
Saving us from zombies.
Think about it like
Yeah,
this.
'cause
At
at
the very
first-
least, I'm giving my life just to if I end up dying from the vaccine, I gave my life showing that you shouldn't take it. If
Well,
that's
no,
the case.
you would go into the research. So they'll be like, whatever your demographics are, don't reveal yourself like Kaninja did. Whatever your demographics are, then they would put it in the system and help with further research.
You know what? I haven't actually thought about that. I'll have to look into that.
I feel
So-
like it's all being. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Kaninja.
No, go ahead, Rissy.
I feel like even with unfortunately the deaths, I feel like somehow with all these statistics is helping with some other step, a step that we just don't know yet. I feel anyway.
Yeah.
Because right now, the jury's out. Everybody. It's just everybody. And I feel like once they've, I guess perfected the vaccine in a way, and other things too considered, and more research, it would be better we'll figure it out.
Right.
We'll know that if someone coughs at whatever store, it's not 12 hours is in the air. Like,
Right.
So, like-
Everyone run! It's the Rona!
Okay.
So but that's very interesting. So hey, can we ask about your experience? Is that going too much into your personal biz?
No, I honestly would not mind sharing my experience, and quite honestly, it wasn't even that big of a deal. So once I received the shot, I probably started feeling my first bit of symptoms probably within an hour or so. And the only thing I pretty much experienced was just some pressure in the eyes and just lightheadedness. But that went away after the next day. It wasn't even anything of a concern, honestly, because I normally feel some pressure in the eyes anyway, probably because I have some condition in the eye. I think I have some stigmatism and other stuff going on with my eyes. So I'm used to feeling pressures in my eyes anyway. So I honestly didn't even think anything of it. And lightheadedness, it honestly couldn't have been anything. That could have just been from just being exhausted from working all the time and stuff. So I didn't think anything of that either. But yeah. So after taking it the next day, I did feel a lot better, and just normal days after that. Now, granted, I was feeling sore. I did forget to mention that, but that was just in the arm. I'm used to feeling sore anyway from like other shots and things of that nature. So I thought that was just normal.
Oh, okay. Well, I thank you for that information. So, because I'm sorry, there's too many pictures from press conferences of different big time people taking the quote unquote vaccine with the needle cap still on. Okay. I saw a lot of those videos where they were like, yeah, I just took it. And the black cap was still on there. Like, I was like, if that wasn't it, if that didn't help me out, and they yayed, okay? You know how people make mistakes. I make mistakes at my job, okay? Who doesn't? But they yayed afterwards, okay? You meant to make me think that you took it.
When they really didn't.
kept the white cap on. Protector. I said, yes, population control. They want us to be zombies. This is it.
So,
Right.
Break Room Buddies, on this podcast, we have a person who has taken the vaccine and has not turned into a zombie and is alive as well. It is Sadorox.
He's getting paid for his testimony.
So
Man.
it looks like we are almost out of time. Is there anything else, Sadorox, that you want to mention before we go into our final thoughts?
Yeah, we're definitely actually going to spend a little bit more time into this. So let's get into it. But
All right, you got 3 minutes.
I did actually want to mention some things. Like, for starters, like, I was looking at the standing order from the head director of the health department, and I did notice some technicalities and some other interesting things. For starters, I did notice that even though in our current phase of vaccinations, we're in the phase where we're dealing with 65 and older, like I mentioned before, this condition or situation, it says specifically that if COVID-19 vaccine has already been thawed and no one meeting criteria for the current phase of vaccination or any of the previous phases is available to receive it, administration to persons or people not meeting the criteria is permitted to avoid wasting vaccine production. What that basically means is that if in the event we have to throw away vaccines, and if people who don't actually meet the current criteria because of the current vaccination phases, they actually are technically allowed to get the vaccine to avoid it getting tossed away. So if people were under the age of 65, let's say if you had some 40-year-olds or even some 18-year-olds or some 20-year-olds hanging around, and we're about to toss it out, guess what? They just can get vaccinated. They would just, of course, still have to go through the registration process, but they would have immediately get the vaccine, and they would also, well, of course, save the waste. So I thought it was really interesting to mention that, because that was actually specifically mentioned on the standing order. I don't recall it being illegal to mention any specifics or any other technicalities for that matter. So in case people wanted to know a loophole, there you go. Also, as for the ingredients, I find it really interesting how, after looking at it, to be honest with you, it makes me actually feel more comfortable taking the vaccine, because it honestly just looks like typical stuff that that you see in your medicines or other vaccines in the past. Honestly, it doesn't look like anything of major concern. Now, what does catch my eye, however, is at the beginning of the ingredients, when it mentions the mRNA, it does mention that there is a modified man, bear with me, ladies.
It's okay, hero. It's okay, hero.
Nucleoside modified mRNA coding. So that is the only thing that caught my eye because of the word modified. So I don't know if somehow they got a hold of the mRNA from the actual COVID virus and somehow managed to modify it in any way. If that's the case, that really does, I do find it interesting as to why they had to modify it. Wasn't sure if it was any way that they have to fill in to possibly get the body to get tricked somehow, or if, I don't know. It's just, I find that really interesting. Of course, it's out of my scope, so I really couldn't understand or honestly explain what that all means or anything like that. But if you folks ever want to, of course, look up the ingredients yourselves for both or any of the vaccines for that matter, you can always just visit the NCBI's website, the government's website. Just, look up vaccine ingredients, and it's all right there. So in case you're ever wondering, you don't know what they put in the vaccine. Oh, well, yeah, that's right there on their website. So
that is awesome to know. Rissy, did you have anything you wanted to add?
No, I honestly was thinking about food, right? And when Sadorox explained how, hey, the loophole, right, that, with people who are not showing the symptoms, all that good stuff, how the loophole for someone who's not quite showing symptoms to still receive the vaccine, right? So they won't toss it. I was thinking, how you go to the donut shop, right? And it's $3 a donut. You go in the morning, it's $3. You go to the afternoon, it's $3. But if you come right at closing, you get a dozen for free.
Yeah,
so
it's basically that same concept.
Just
But
saying.
that is very interesting, like both the comparison and the I guess the more or less, I don't know if I would call it a loophole, but just one of the criteria there that I don't know has been widely spread saying, hey, if these vaccines aren't used that are prepared for that day, they get thrown out. So break room buddies, if you want to get the vaccine, make sure you look those up and then look at the places that you can get them. I think one was the Bojangles Coliseum. I think there's other ones too. But if look out for those, and if you want to get it, kind of be out there like a Black Friday or like you want to get those dozen donuts at the end and see if you can get one. Now, of course, it's not a guarantee, right? Sadorox is only if you have any extra.
Well, yeah, that and just so that we're all also clear, because I'm sure this is going to be listened worldwide. Want people to understand that this is pretty much from North Carolina. I'm not sure how other states are, but the health director from the health department of North Carolina was the one who initiated this order. This is a standing order, so this is all right here for North Carolina. I don't know if it's like that for the entire world. If it is, freaking fantastic for everyone else, but this says here on this piece of paper I'm looking at right here, it says Mecklenburg County. So
okay,
look at us, Kaninja.
we're worldwide. As a side note, we did get a view or a listen from someone from Germany, so that was very interesting. So
not cool.
Yeah, we think you're big. Okay,
shout out to the German right there.
Yeah.
Awesome. So it looks like we are all out of time. Before we get back to work, let's finish out with our final thoughts. Rissy, you want to go first?
Sure. Let me go get my phone together. I'm tired. That's all. I'm a hero too, because I definitely went through. I missed my phone. I am ready in 3, 2, 1. Thank you so much, Sadorox, for returning with all your medical expertise and knowledge and wisdom. We thank you so much for coming. I hope that that our listeners can take away from this particular episode is just to be safe, do what's comfortable, and be safe. If you choose to take the vaccine or not, just be safe. Wear your mask, wash your hands, social distance, high quality hand sanitizer. And that's my 30 seconds.
All right, I'll go next and we'll save the best for last.
Okay.
All right, ready, set, go. So yes, again, thank you, Sadorox, for joining us. Definitely have learned a lot about the vaccine, especially for that one, I guess, criteria about being able to take it, even though you're not part of the current phase, if they have still some left over in North Carolina, of course. And also just to make sure you wash your hands. I definitely learned from you as well, Sadorox, when you mentioned, hey, I just make sure that I have high hand hygiene. And as a medical assistant, then that makes a lot of sense that you wouldn't be freaking out like Rissy and I throughout this COVID experience. So thank you again. And definitely I'll think about becoming a zombie. I don't know. We'll see. That's the end of my 30 seconds. And Sadorox, would you like to close us out?
All right. And uno, dos, tres. So I do appreciate both of you ladies having me on this podcast again for a second time to basically communicate, have conversation about the vaccine, basically about any possible benefits, any side effects, any experiences, and basically just differences that it's going to be changed from here on out. I do, at the end of the day, I am pretty happy that I am, working in this field and even being able to vaccinate as much people as I possibly can. I know people have our differences and, our, opinion on the vaccine, but, I'm just happy that we're able to at least have something to kind of null the pain for a little bit until we can find something to try to put it down for good or something like that.
Awesome. Well, all right. So thank you again, Sadorox, for joining us and giving us the inside scoop on the vaccine. Be sure to comment or leave your feedback on our Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter. Thank you all for listening in. Bye, Break Room Buddies.
Bye.
See you next time. Thank you for spending your break with us. Time to get back to the grind. For some suggestions on what we talk about next time, send us an email at ourbreakroom@gmail.com. See you next time, Break Room Buddies.